She was already screaming when I stepped out. Phone in her hand, finger shaking, voice loud enough for the whole ranch to hear. "He's trespassing! Arrest him now!" The cops were still on the way, but she didn't care. She pointed at the lake like it was hers, then smiled at her son standing behind her. "I gifted this lake to him," she said, proud, loud. Sure she had won. I stayed quiet. I didn't argue. I just looked at the water. The same water my family had protected for years, and waited. She slapped a bright red HOA notice on my fence and told me I had 1 hour to leave. 1 hour. She said the board voted. She said the budget approved it. She said I was finished. Her son laughed and started talking about building a private dock. That's when she crossed the line. She told my daughter to stay away from the lake because new owners don't want trouble. My hands clenched, but my face stayed calm. Inside, something cold clicked into place. When the police cars finally pulled up, she ran to them like a hero in her own movie. She pointed at me again and said I was stealing land. Stealing water, stealing from her family. She didn't notice me pulling my phone out. She didn't notice I was recording everything. She didn't notice the badge number on one of the officers made him pause when he saw my name. I looked at Karen and thought, she really has no idea who controls the money she's spending. One of the cops asked a simple question. "Who approved this transfer?" Karen smiled again and said, "The HOA did." I nodded slowly and said, "Yeah, I know." That's when her smile faded just a little. Not gone, just cracked. And that was the moment I realized this wasn't about a lake anymore. This was about power. And she had just handed me the proof. She thought she owned the land. But she didn't even own the truth. She started talking fast after that, like speed could save her. She told the cops the HOA had full control now, that I was just a problem refusing to move on. She waved a folder in the air, papers half falling out, none of them signed right. One officer took them, flipped a page, then looked back at me. I met his eyes and said quietly, "Those budgets go through my office." Karen froze. Her son stopped smiling. She laughed it off loud and sharp. "That's a lie. He's just a ranch worker trying to scare us." Then she leaned closer to the cops and whispered, not knowing my mic was still recording, "Just arrest him and we'll fix the paperwork later." The officer stepped back. That whisper changed everything. I could see it on his face. She didn't stop. She ordered a tow truck for my truck, right there, in front of my kids. Said it was HOA property. Now. The driver hooked it up, while she watched with crossed arms, enjoying it. My daughter asked me in a small voice if we were losing the house. I put my hand on her shoulder and said, "No, we're not going anywhere." Karen heard that and smirked. Then I made one call, just one. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain. I just said, "Freeze all HOA accounts, now." The officer nearest me went still. Karen blinked. "What did you just say?" she asked. I looked at her and replied, "You shouldn't have touched the budget." Her phone buzzed, then buzzed again. She checked it, and the color drained from her face. Her son grabbed her arm and asked what was wrong. She tried to speak, but no words came out. She stole land she never owned, and tripped over money she never controlled. The tow truck driver's phone rang next. He frowned, then slowly unhooked my truck. "Job's canceled," he muttered. Karen spun toward him and yelled that the HOA would sue him. He didn't even look back. One of the officers stepped aside and took a call too. When he returned, his tone changed. Calm, firm, not on her side anymore. Karen started blaming everyone. The board, the accountant, even her own son. She swore this was some mistake and demanded the cops arrest me anyway. That's when the officer asked her for proof of ownership. Real proof. Not flyers. Not HOA letters. Deeds. She opened her folder again, hands shaking now, pages flipping too fast. Nothing was there. I finally spoke slow and clear. I told them the lake was protected land. I told them the HOA only managed roads and lights. I told them every dollar they spent had to pass through me. Karen stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. "You're lying," she whispered. I didn't answer. I just showed them the records. Her son stepped back when he read the name on the screen. My name. He asked his mom why she never checked. She snapped at him to be quiet. That's when the second twist hit. One of the officers recognized the land code, said it was tied to a veteran trust. He looked at me and nodded with respect. Karen tried one last move. She accused me of threatening her family, said she feared for her life. False report. Right on camera. The officer sighed and turned his body toward her. She tried to bury me with lies, but every lie was filmed. They asked her to step aside. Just a few feet. She refused. Said she knew her rights, said the HOA would destroy me in court. Her voice shook now, but she kept pushing. One officer quietly read her the warning. Trespassing. False report. Impersonating authority. Each word landed heavy. She snapped, pointed at me and screamed that I was nothing. That people like me didn't get to control land like this. The ranch went silent. Even her son looked away. That one line, flipped the whole mood. The officer told her to turn around. She laughed, then realized no one was laughing with her. They cuffed her, right there by the lake she claimed to own. Her son tried to step in, saying the gift was real. Another officer stopped him and explained the charge, conspiracy. He went pale. Karen started crying, saying this wasn't how it was supposed to go. I stood there holding my daughter's hand, steady. Before they put her in the car, I said one thing, just one. I told her I didn't fight for this country to be bullied off my own land. She looked up at me, eyes wide, finally understanding who she had messed with. The lake was quiet again. The water didn't change. The land didn't move. Only the power did. She tried to own my silence. But silence was never for sale. That should have been the end. But Karen still had moves left. From the back of the police car, she shouted that the HOA board would reverse everything by morning. Said I'd be begging by sunrise. I didn't reply. I was already getting alerts. Every HOA card declined. Every transfer blocked. Emergency meeting requests flooding in. That night, the board called me. Not angry, scared. They said Karen never told them the truth. She told them the land was public. She told them I agreed to sell. She told them the budget was approved. I listened, then told them something they didn't expect. I said the audit was already done. 2 years of fake expenses, private trips, cash withdrawals, all signed by Karen. By morning, the story spread. Neighbors showed up at the gate not to fight, but to watch. News vans parked near the road. Karen's son was released, but he didn't come home. He packed and left. He never looked at the lake again. The board resigned one by one. They knew what was coming. A federal notice went up on the HOA office door. Operations suspended. Assets seized. The same notice Karen once slapped on my fence. I stood by the lake as the sun came up. Same water, same land. Different world. She tried to gift what she never owned, and lost everything she touched. The hearing was quick. Too quick for her. Karen sat there in cuffs, eyes darting, still waiting for someone to save her. No one did. The judge didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He read the charges, then the evidence. Video, audio, bank trails. Each one closed another door. When my turn came, I didn't talk about revenge. I talked about the ranch. About my kids learning to fish in that lake. About coming home from service and wanting peace, not fights. The room stayed quiet. Karen looked down. For the first time, she had nothing to say. The ruling hit hard. Restitution, bans from HOA boards, community service, and a warning that one more move would mean prison. Her power was gone. Not taken by force, but by truth. Outside, a reporter asked me why I stayed so calm when she tried to ruin my life. I thought about it for a second and said, because real power doesn't yell. That line ran everywhere. That evening, we grilled by the lake. My daughter laughed. My wife squeezed my hand. The ranch felt safe again. But just when the sun dipped, my phone buzzed. A message from a blocked number. This isn't over. I didn't reply to the message. I forwarded it. That's the thing Karen never understood. Threats only work when you hide them. By midnight, the number was traced. Not to her phone, but to the old HOA office line. Someone was helping her. Someone inside. The next day, investigators walked in again. This time, they didn't ask questions. They took computers, hard drives, old contracts. A former board member broke down and admitted Karen had been moving money for years, using fake land improvement projects. The lake was just her last grab before running. Karen heard about it in holding. She lost control, started yelling that everyone betrayed her, that she deserved more. The guard shut the door and walked away. No audience, no power. That afternoon, I got a call from the county. They offered to turn the lake into protected land under my trust. No HOA, no future claims, permanent. I said yes, signed it the same day. When I walked back to the water, the fence notice was gone. In its place was a small sign from the county. Protected land. Private access. My kids asked what it meant. I smiled and said, it means no one can lie their way in again. Across town, Karen was served new charges. She said it wasn't over. But it was already sealed. Karen never came back to the ranch. Not in person, not in power. The final charges closed the door for good. Fraud, impersonation, theft, the kind that doesn't get appeals. The kind that ends stories. The HOA dissolved quietly after that. No speeches, no signs. Just empty offices and locked doors. The neighbors voted to manage their own roads. No board, no fear. Just people again. On a clear morning, I stood by the lake with my family. The flag moved slow in the wind. My daughter asked if anyone could ever take it from us again. I looked at the water, then at her and said, not unless we give it away. That night, I posted one line online. No names, no drama. I didn't fight for this country to be told I can't stand on my own land. It went viral, because freedom doesn't need permission. 3 weeks later, an envelope arrived with no return name. Inside was a single page. A budget report stamped. Approved. County oversight. At the bottom was a note written in shaky ink. We didn't know it was yours. She told us you were weak. I folded it once and tossed it in the fire pit. Because the lake didn't need apologies. It needed peace. That evening, a patrol truck slowed near the gate, then kept going. No stops, no looks, just respect. My wife leaned on my shoulder and said, some people spend their whole lives chasing control, not knowing when they already lost. I watched the water ripple and thought about how close it all came. And how fast it ended once truth showed up. Somewhere, Karen was learning a hard lesson. Power borrowed from lies always comes due. And here on the ranch, the only sound left was the wind over the lake. Exactly how freedom is supposed to sound. End the story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing HOA stories.